like give me a smiling, happy face and make it fill the whole page. That was the prompt. Okay, so riding the Tidewave. Has anybody heard of Tidewave, by the way? 2 people? Only 2 people have heard of Tidewave? Okay. So how many people here use MCP servers? Does anybody know what an MCP server is? Yes? Okay. So basically, like, if I could sum it up in probably a crude way, it's like something that's presented to your LLM that can do functions, and that it presents like a set of tasks that the LLM can address directly. They're probably better description of what it is. But essentially, Tidewave is an MCP server plugin for whatever kind of thing can take an MCP server. Most specifically, it seems to be tuned towards Claude. So if you go to tidewave.ai, later on, the demo, Jose is using Claude in the background. So he's using it more or less like I've used it. So the logos here are the Tidewave logo, Elixir, and Claude. Okay, and for added bonus points, I vibe coded this presentation this afternoon, and then I ran out of tokens. So you only get like 3/4 of a presentation that was done by Claude. Okay, so this is what it feels like to code with Tidewave. Is you have this very smart toddler with dynamite chainsaw and a 6-shooter, and you're just like, yeah, man, let's go. Because like, what else could go wrong if we just give this thing access to my code base and give it terminal access? Like, it could nuke your database, it could do anything, but it could also build you the next unicorn application, and you could be a billionaire by tomorrow morning. Everything is on the table with this thing. And also, this wasn't vibe coded. This is over Perplexity. This generated image, but the prompt there is like, give me a toddler that looks like Einstein with thick glasses and dressed like a cowboy and has a chainsaw and dynamite. So the version that Claude gave me was like this heinous SVG thing with like ovals and stuff. It was horrible. So I had to go to a different source. But the rest of this is all drawn by Claude. So I also asked Claude of like, what is this experience like? Give me this graph. So this graph is like when you first start going with this thing, you're just like, this is amazing. I'm a god. I command the troops of Rome. Away I go. And then you hit the end of whatever it is, whether it's like your window or your tokens or the capability of Claude or whatever. You hit the limit, and then you come crashing down the other side. It's a massive emotional roller coaster. And also, Claude always hits you with this thing of like, you're almost out of usage, and like the hit you up for like the upsell. So it feels like you're watching like KTEL TV of like 3 easy payments. Just pay one now, and we can get back to work. Okay, so of the things that I have done with it so far, this was actually very useful. That I don't see it being advertised, I guess. So I needed to upgrade a library for work. Don't tell work, by the way. This isn't going on YouTube anyway. None of these are going on YouTube, right? I needed to upgrade a library for work, and it was using old stuff of Elixir. So I don't know if anybody's familiar with like old stuff in Elixir, HTTP poison. It's like very old. That needs to be ripped out. It's like depending on all the old, I guess, Erlang stuff underlying, but we now have better stuff built all in Elixir. So I basically told it to go into this library, rip out everything that's regarding to HTTP poison, replace it with rec. So replace it with all modern stuff, and write me some tests. And also, it's a library that needs Kubernetes to be running for the tests. I don't know that much about Kubernetes. Like I'm no Kubernetes expert. And so I said, hey, just build me like a testing framework that I can run my tests that are running against an actual Kubernetes instance. So it's like, yeah, just go install Kind and Docker and all the other dependencies that you need to install, and it builds a script for me and everything. I can just run this script, and then I've got a Kubernetes cluster running locally on my computer that I can run the tests against. So it was just like, wow, this is great. This is actually like, at that point, I was just like totally sold. This saved me at least 2 days worth of work, at least, if not more, because setting up the whole Kubernetes cluster and everything like that on my own computer would have been massive pain. So the one minor hiccup was that I had to create like basically a Tidewave dummy project and then drop this library into it so that Claude could see it. So basically you're running the Tidewave server from a Phoenix project, and then it can just modify the code and away you go. There's a way that it's documented that you're supposed to be able to run Tidewave from any Elixir project. I tried that. I couldn't get it to work, but it worked just fine if I just created a dummy Phoenix project and then dropped the directory with the library code in it, and away it went. Did everything well, passed all the tests. Minor issues of like, hey, this thing doesn't seem to work. But for the most part, if you know how code works, chances are you'll be able to catch that sort of stuff. Like, it was quite seamless and quite nice to work with. Okay, so that was one thing that I used it for, where I was like, this is the bomb. This is awesome. Complete massive saver of my time. Okay, so this is rendering different on this screen. Anyway, all it says is there are many MCP servers, and all of them work with Claude in some way, shape, or form. And it's a great way to interact with things that have some sort of an API right now, but somebody just went out and built an MCP server for it. So I imagine you could find an MCP server that works with like PowerPoint and all these other kinds of applications. So I tried GIMP, I tried Blender, I tried CAD thing, and they all worked to some extent. So we'll get into that later. In GIMP, it's kind of fine. In Blender, it's like kind of not fine, because Claude is kind of like running out of its, what do you say? It's out of its depth, I guess you could say. So in the 2D space, so SVGs and stuff like that, Claude is just fine. It did that circle with the happy face and whatever else. Once you get to the point of trying to do something in 3D, I think it's just kind of outside of its scope. So a lot of that sort of stuff is like, just know what you're getting into if you're going to go that direction. It's not going to turn you into like the next ILM or something like that, right? Just understand that there are limitations, and we're not there yet in terms of what it can accomplish. So one of the really cool things about the MCP server is that you can plug in Playwright. I covered Playwright in a previous presentation. Does anybody here not know what Playwright is? No shame. Okay. We don't know. Okay, so Playwright is just browser automation. Okay, so people are using it for scraping, for testing, for whatever. So just think of it that we plug it into, if we persist long enough, I can just show you a quick demo of, you just tell it, use Playwright to do this thing, and then it'll pop up a browser, and it controls it, and it does its thing. So anything that you can do with browser automation, you can do with the MCP. So there are just ways where you can just take these things and like plug them all together and glom them all and make like a giant application, and away you go. So anything you can do with the browser, anything you would want to do with browser automation, so you can navigate, you can analyze the network traffic, and you can reverse engineer APIs. So that one is actually really awesome. I was working on this before I got here, but then I ran out of tokens. Of like the demonstration that I made last time, Steve was asking me about the house, whether I bought the house. No, I didn't buy the house. But the time that it took for me to like figure out all of that process last time, basically it's just like, do the thing, go here, do this, press button, extract, and it can figure out a lot of this sort of stuff just because it's not completely stupid. Although, there's some idiosyncrasies. If you know something, like, then you have to just kind of inform it. So I think it's really awesome for particularly reverse engineering APIs. That's part of what I want to do with it. So you can basically take something that nobody designed to be an API and just turn it into like part of your backend application. Okay, so that's the end of my slide presentation, because that's when I ran out of tokens. So what we can do is take a look at, and then we can actually vibe code some stuff if you want, depending on how far we get here.
Do we have tokens?
We do have tokens. Okay, so We aren't connecting. To refresh the hotspot. So this is part of Claude, is that you have to have an internet connection, otherwise you're not going to be able to do anything. So here's my previous session from the interaction of building the presentation. So this is about as long as you could expect a conversation to be, and then it's just going to run out of time. Yeah, like they're calling it the context window, but I don't think that's entirely accurate, because a context window should be sliding, and they're basically just saying like, we've run out of, like, this is the tier you're at. So this is as long a conversation as we're going to support for you. And then this is me also trying to mess around and fix some stuff that I built locally, and some other stuff. I'll show you another thing that I built, and the 3D sort of limitations. So I wanted to do the same thing as like a like for like. So in Blender, this Blender, it didn't build this in Blender, okay? The thing that it built in Blender was absolutely heinous. It was like a sphere, and then like this disconnected mouth, and like some teeth hanging out in space, and the eyes weren't connected, and it was like, it was very clear to me that it didn't understand what was going on. So then I told it to just go download a model. So it found this model of 3D, brought it into Blender, and then exported it via something that it could understand. So it's exported via, I can't remember what the file format is, GLB or something like that. But all this sort of stuff, it knows how to plug it into the page, so you can just tell it like, here's the thing, go get the thing. And if it's failing for some reason, you can just be like, okay, I helped you out by downloading the thing, and this is where it is locally. So another thing is that it'll lie to you all the time. So this is my attempt to do it one through FreeCAD, and it basically copied the other page, and then it kept on telling me that it had already fixed it and that it had put in the proper model, but this is just the model from the other page. And so it keeps lying to you, and it grades itself on this sliding scale, and then it's like, success! I'm the best in the universe! And it congratulates itself when it's like hasn't done the right thing. It's very clearly like not done the right thing, right? So just understand, like, those are all just table stakes for using Claude, is that you have to like put the whip to the back a little bit and get back to work, because you haven't done your job. Okay, so maybe we can just replay one of my sessions for the so this is when I was trying to reverse engineer this thing this afternoon. It's probably not going to understand what's happening because it's out of context. It's probably lost the conversation, to be honest. So it doesn't know what to do.
Well, they said they weren't going to delete conversations from AI anymore.
Oh, I don't know.
Let's be optimistic here. It's going to work. Let's go.
Okay.
Come on, baby.
What happens if I go up? Okay. So I'll just review the conversation, because this is kind of instructive on its own. Okay, so telling it to go to this site. So this site is here. Okay, so if we go to that site. Oh, no, Apple. Yeah, so this is, if you remember from last time, we need to go here, log in as a guest. Okay, so that's all that I'm telling it to do over here. Okay, so.
Like, did you make your wife click on the EULA for this?
No. Okay, so you can see that. Can I just replay it? So this is what's happening with Playwright. So this is Playwright that is controlling here, which is just using Chrome. So it goes to the right location. Here we go. Here's a screenshot. Goes to the next page. So it goes through the series of pages, and then because I told it that I wanted to reverse engineer the API, it's starting to list off the endpoints for me. Here's the next screen in the screenshot. And then eventually we get to the point where we're able to extract the latitude, longitude from the realtor page. Also, it doesn't follow the instructions very exactly. Like, for example, I told it to go look in the directions button for the latitude and longitude, and it thought that, well, it just, I guess, assumed that to just go to Google Maps and be able to extract it, but it didn't need to go to Google Maps because the lat and long is already in the link. So I told it to look in the link, but it clicked on it because, you know, it sort of assumes things. So yeah, that's the process of reverse engineering. It would take probably about 10 or 15 minutes to replay this whole session, so I don't think we have time for that. But this is the type of thing that it does where it's like, it's always perfect success, right? Where it's like key accomplishments and like hire me for your next job and like I deserve a raise and all this sort of stuff. It's like go and pay the money, you know. And then I say, okay, like one more step. You almost made it there. So I want you to go pick the right button out of it, and then start reporting to me the things that you find. And then of course it runs out of the window. So do we want to actually vibe code some stuff within Tidewave?
100%.
Okay. So I think you get the idea with Playwright. You know, you can tell it to do stuff, and it'll do stuff. So let's just line this up.
Does Mac have like a window arrow key?
I don't know. Okay. So what do people want to see? Don't say Minesweeper.
Shark sweeper. I want to know if you tell it it's sharks. So they don't mines or bombs. Well, Shark Week has multiple connotations, though, right?
So you've installed Tidewave into this Phoenix app here.
Yeah.
And then you registered that as an MCP server for Claude.
Yeah. Oh, that would be helpful. I'll probably show you some code, a little bit. I mean, I haven't written most of this code, right? But just what is necessary for Tidewave to run, by the way, is basically just wherever Tidewave is here. Okay. So yeah, I think I installed it with Igniter. So also that's an Ash thing. So basically, yeah, you install Tidewave, and then you need to put the MCP server in your Claude config. So essentially, you have your server sitting at localhost 4000, whatever that is, and you call it something. I can't remember where the config file is off the top of my head. Oh, here it is. Okay, so this is how you define your MCP servers. So I have a Perplexity server, I have a Playwright, I have Blender, and I have FreeCAD, and then Tidewave. So basically, if you wanted to specifically use one of these things, so like if you gave it something ambiguous that one of these could perform or a different one could perform, you just say use this one and perform the act that I'm asking you to do. So like if I wanted it to so first of all, just ask it if it can see Tidewave. Do you? So it has to think, you know. etc.
Cycles of API keys.
Maybe.
Does it? I saw Perplexity was in the lists for Tidewave. Does it use Perplexity or require a subscription through that?
It's a separate MCP.
Yeah.
There was a separate one for it, but then the Perplexity key was also in Tidewave.
Yeah. With the Perplexity one, I'm just on a free tier. I was on a paid tier, and that's why I have keys. So I don't think we're leaking any information by putting this on YouTube because those keys are obsolete. But it is using my account for Perplexity by reaching out like that. But I'm just on the free tier. So basic usage. So I don't know why it's saying it can't see it, because normally it could see it. Just doesn't have direct access. Oh, okay, there we go. So server browser tools. Okay, so this is part of how, yeah. Okay. So
Great, you just unleashed Skynet.
yeah. And you always you want to click allow always, okay? Every single time when it comes up, just be like allow always, okay?
Time to format your Mac.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It just keeps getting deeper. It's got gorgeous styling.
Yeah. It wrote it itself.
Click always allow. Wow. That's high praise.
Okay, so let's just see what happens if we say write Minesweeper and put it at Minesweeper and just see what it does.
Well, hang
Okay.
on, for science though, can we call it something not Minesweeper? Because it knows Minesweeper from the repositories. Yeah.
Okay. Do we want to like Minesweeper but with sharks instead of Minesweeper?
Not even a game. We want something entertaining that.
We're setting the bar awfully high, and we have like a shortage of time. So yes,
Could you like a Frogger style game?
Frogger.
Like, oh yeah. You've got something that needs to move from one end of the screen to the other, and there are obstacles that shoot randomly from left to right, and it has to avoid those. Like, wow. You know what I mean? It's like, how do you describe Minesweeper without? I mean, if you care for fun means we can try.
Okay.
Fields and that's how we ended up.
Yeah, just allow it to be event-driven though. If you're making it soft.
In one shot.
Basically, you can move to the space.
How it's like creating folders.
And you need to change that one. So rules are very simple. You know, like what
Let's just see what happens. And now we sit here and wait for the next 20 minutes while it chugs away. So one of the cool things about it is that you can just go to the thing if it's already there, and you can just watch it chug away. It says it doesn't know about Galaga yet, so we're still waiting.
I'm encouraged that our jobs are safe. If you type in make Galaga.
So modifying.
You gotta know the
Are
keywords.
they modifying?
Is it modifying?
Like code? And
Yeah. Yeah. As it goes.
can we take a look at the?
What's happening with the code? We could. Okay, so let's see what it's starting to do here. I'm guessing that in router we have something like Galaga. So we have a Galaga page controller Galaga. So if we go to, so far it's just lumping everything into page controller, by the way. So this is not idiomatic code at all, but you know, like, it's a toddler with a 6-shooter and a piece of dynamite. So what are we hoping for? I don't know. So it's sending everything to the exact same module, which is not, not the way to go, but sure, why not? Okay, so it's just going to a thing called Galaga and render. Okay, so where are we finding these? Tidewave server, Galaga. Oh, here we go. Yeah. So here we go. We're doing stuff. So far, we're looking at mostly styling. And, it's created a game canvas. And, okay, so maybe if we go back into... Oh! I already lost.
Yeah, alien invaders.
But this isn't Galaga, is it? We
Alien invaders.
did we end up with Space Invaders?
Space invaders.
This is better.
Is this Galaga? I've never played...
Better. Yeah, much better.
Is Galaga the same thing as Space Invaders?
I rather play this.
Wow.
I
What
don't
happens
know
if you get hit by a
dying
missile? Is
The
there
particle
protection?
effects
Yeah,
are
there
great.
is. Unreal.
Yeah, man.
Okay, so that's it writing Galaga. Okay, so we'll say it looks good, but we need some...
Feels like it should be live view here.
Yeah, it does feel like it should be live view. Okay, so...
Single shot with running perfectly is absolutely mind-blowing. Talk about self-promotion.
I thought you were saying that.
It's pushing for management. Soon it'll be telling you what to do.
So this is the other thing, is that Claude will go for the easiest route, whatever that is. So if you give it very ambiguous instructions, it's just going to go straight for JavaScript or straight for Python or straight for whatever. If you're just like, give me a thing, it's just going to find whichever is the easiest way for it to do it and do that thing. So if you want it to, like even with Tidewave, where you're saying, like I'm building a Phoenix thing here, right? It's going to, if you don't tell it any different, it's going to default to just using JavaScript because it can. So it typically will take the path of least resistance. So what else to say about this? I'm on the lowest paid tier, which is the least that you could have for it to be useful, in my opinion. You could be on the free tier and have some sort of an experience of like, gives you the idea of what it's going to look like. But using that graph, you're only making it about halfway up that graph before you hit the whereas if you want to make it like much farther up that graph, the more you pay, the further up that graph you're going to get. Although there's going to be a point where the thing just runs out of memory, or there are a lot of limitations. So just understand that, like, the metaphor of a human or the metaphor of a mind is not a very accurate way of describing it. It is something that is very smart in some ways, but very stupid in other ways. And also you can see it going in the wrong direction, and it can't see itself going in the wrong direction. So you can follow like these prompts, and if it's going in the wrong direction, just stop it and tell it to reverse course. That type of thing. You as a human, we're not out of the loop yet. Like we're not we're not losing our positions. We're just doing it in live view now.
Is this $20 a month, Peter?
This is 28. The lowest paid tier, like maybe it's 20 American. I'm not sure. No. Unsupported. No sandbox.
How did you make it work on a Mac?
I don't think it's Mac. I think it just like did this over top of the other thing.
It says using unsupported command line flag, no sandbox, blah blah. Maybe that's
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, we could take some time and debug this, or we could just oh, it's figured out.
Yeah, there's the problem. They're gonna always allow.
Perfect retro aesthetic.
Playwright.
So above Claude code, Tidewave is giving it access to actually inspect the running application and look at screens and
Yeah.
navigate around and
Yeah.
mess with the browser.
Yeah. If I had to guess, basically Tidewave is like a code server combined with Playwright-ish thing that's giving it control of a browser. So it's getting it from both sides. Yeah. So it's very handy. It's basically hitting it from both directions, just much like a human would. So also because it has control of the browser, it can inspect the deployed code, etc. So it's not just looking at it visually. Like it can look at it visually, take screenshots and all those types of things, but it can also like inspect the actual, the DOM and whatever else is deployed for code. Okay, so it'll often say these types of things like I see the issue, but oftentimes it isn't really seeing the issue. It says it has a lot of this like very positive self-talk where it's just like, come on, go team, you're the best, you can do this.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
Oh, it's working.
So I wonder if it's oh,
Oh, yeah. Can you shoot?
not shooting yet.
Oh,
And apparently I can just drive through the bullets.
that's so cool, man. Oh.
Shoot by the nose.
Okay, so let's see if it's still chugging.
I think it's not.
Yeah, oh, amazing. I see tons of live view updates in the console. The game is running. Let me take a screenshot, see the action. So this is, one of the cool things about Claude is that it just keeps on chugging. As long as it thinks that there's still something wrong, it'll keep going. And then every once in a while it'll come up with these things of like mind-blowing, but then it's not done yet. And then it's like next one is like, I'm even better. It keeps on like, yeah. Yeah, so,
Perfect collision detection.
yeah. Yeah. So it's a lot of fun, but I don't know that I would be running my business on the back of this. It's the type of thing that you would want to dabble with. I think also Casper was saying the point of like give it narrow focus. Don't give it like I did at the beginning where it's just like write Galaga, like go for it, because then it just goes and writes all kinds of stuff, and you could be nuking your database, you could be doing all kinds of different things. And if you just give it that sort of license, now we're achievement unlocked. Yeah, so it spends an awful lot of tokens like congratulating itself. So I'm not sure it's possible to to tone that sort of thing down. Anyway, so that's Tidewave, the basics of it. So if for some reason that you're not already doing this whole vibe coding thing, if you don't need to, you don't have to. In 6 months' time, this will be completely obsolete. I'm quite convinced. Like we're in like the complete hair on fire days of like JavaScript, where it was like a new framework every other day. I mean, that's still kind of the case with JavaScript, but like things are going to be churning like crazy in the next months and years. So if you don't have to pick it up and you don't want to, I really don't think you're missing that much. And I think if you pick it up in a month's time or 6 months' time or a year's time, or whenever your job forces you to take it, because it's like everybody has to do AI code here, you're fine. As an experienced developer, you'll be able to pick up and jump in on this. In terms of like learning curve, it's very shallow. It's like basically it's like pair programming with a very fast typer that is kind of an idiot. So just keep that in mind. It's just think of it as like a turbo pair programming session where you're really strongly trying to steer the other person, and you can be encouraging if you like. You can have fun with it if you like. You can you can take whatever kind of tone that you want. But yeah, if you don't have to do it and you don't want to do it, it's fine. But it is the type of thing where in the right situations, in the right context. So like I mentioned about fixing the library, I mentioned about reverse engineering the APIs and stuff like that. Those are the things that would take one of us like a very long time to be able to do. And if it can shorten your workload in those regards, diving into an existing code base and explaining it to you, those types of things, that's where it's like really excels. In terms of the code generation, it can barf an absolute ton of code, right? If that's what you want, maybe, but maybe that's not what you want. Maybe, that's not, most developers aren't thinking that barfing a ton of code into my project that's not really a feature. So you always have to enforce scope. You have to always enforce to write tests. Like it won't write tests by default unless you like basically tell it at the beginning. And even then, it's always going to be like on a grading scale or a sliding scale. It's going to grade itself on, and it's constantly going to be trying to cheat you and tell you that it's doing an amazing job when it's doing a complete garbage job. And like so, with that example of like that 3D head where I was like trying to bring in a different one, and it kept on being like, oh, this one is good enough. I'll just put this one as a placeholder. And then afterwards it was like, this looks like the head that I'm supposed to put in. Job done. It will do that a lot. So you have to keep it on a very short leash, keep the scope tight. Don't give it full control like I was doing where it's just like allow, because you're probably going to accidentally nuke your database or something. So any questions? Yes.
When you were engineering API, did you try to defuscate codes, like find like proper names for the codes?
For like functions and stuff? Or
yeah, if you try to steal something, for example,
yeah,
using defuscated page JavaScript.
Yeah.
Did you try to defuscate?
I didn't make it that far, but I could imagine that it would be able to figure that out for you. So basically, if you said, yeah, go find this bit of JavaScript, and then turn that into JavaScript that I can read, comment it, explain to me what it's doing, and tell me the function that's doing this thing, I imagine that it would be able to definitely do that for you. Because that's another thing, is that the thing that it's really good at is going to be Python, JavaScript, Java, all of the popular languages are the things that we're going to be really good at. Elixir is like, it's not its strong suit. Claude is better than the other ones for Elixir, but it's really good at those other languages. So I really don't think it would be a big problem for it to be able to go into obfuscated code, like what you're saying, and pull out stuff or refactor it so that it would make it more understandable for you. And then you could even like take the refactored code and then deploy that onto your Playwright instance, and then hit up the API that way.
There was a recent study when there was like about 100 people were given like a project like end to end to deliver, and half of them were using AI, and another half were not using AI.
Yeah.
So people like who were not using AI actually completed the project faster.
Yeah.
But people who were using AI felt like they moving significantly faster. Than we like really moving along, like we like delivering, but it took them longer to like actually achieve result if it's like not an individual task, but like a whole project.
Yes, the studies on Slashdot, they said like senior developers and AI don't mix. It's juniors that are good with AI. Well, if you know what to ask for, you can do it faster yourself than asking an AI and debugging the AI.
Faster isn't better.
You need to be meaner.
Well, if you've done it before, like pretty much give me a
I don't-
challenge. I bet you I could put it in terms of tables. I could develop this in a two-dimensional grid into a table, whatever you have. What do you have?
Like you're trying to develop something simple with junior developer, or
Well, give me an example.
I saw a lot of cheat code from junior vibe coder, because he doesn't understand. He used mutex for some reason in a single thread application, and it was generated by AI. Sometimes it just doesn't work better with juniors because they don't know.
And the senior developer like Kevin would look at that and go,
we're not going the junior way for this. We're going to do it this way. And that's why AI doesn't work so good for him.
Well, I think it's just better not to generalize. Like there are many things that you could do faster with this vibe coding approach, and there are many things that you would not want to do this way. Like if you need to go in and do a 2-line edit, loading this up is just kind of a waste of time and also too risky because you're exposing your whole code base to it. So there are lots of reasons to not use it, but for the cases that I outlined, where it's like you're trying to reverse engineer something, you're trying to reverse obfuscate something, you're trying to get it to explain a code base to you, it pays for itself already for those types of things. And then for the AI, for the actual code generation thing, that's just a bonus if you need it, but you may not need it. But there are also lots of examples. So I don't know if anybody know who Richard Feldman is, Software Unscripted, the podcast. I just watched this thing today. It was pretty good. So you can go watch it. Richard Feldman, he's the guy that's behind Rock, the programming language. And he was talking with another guy about this, coding, aspect. And like there are ways where you can use it that make it have like an outsized effect, like sort of like a turbo regex sort of thing. It's like I want to go in and fix a whole bunch of boilerplate. It all has to be fixed in a similar sort of way, but there isn't any way that I could grab this with like Vim key code or you can't just go in and do it in like a very obvious way, like in a mechanical kind of way. But you can tell the LLM what sort of pattern to look for and like go and replace all of this type of code with all of this type of code. So an example of when I was fixing that library was like everything that's using HTTP poison, pull that out and use rec instead. And then there's a couple places where it's like, oh, rec actually deals with this differently, so we have to implement something different. So those types of things are like it's getting you like 3/4 of the way there of code that I didn't have to write. So that's the main thing. But yes, Casper.
Just let you finish, then I'll give my anecdote.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So yeah, just to kind of like echo that. So what I found the most benefit I get from it is not like writing code or writing new features, but it's getting it to do things that have already been done that are tedious or that I don't want to do again. So one recent instance that I got a lot of use from it was we were renaming some of our modules in our code base, and they also had to be like the file paths have to be renamed to match the modules. And that's annoying, and that's not something that you can really like regex or Vim. But if you do that for 1 or 2 files, and then you tell the model, go, hey, this is what I've done for this file, now do it for the rest, you can just let it go do the thing while you do something else. Or if you're like making a refactor on like a data model or something, and you need to propagate that to other data models, you tell it, look at this change I've done, and now go do it for the other things. And it saves you the copy and paste and doing it while it goes and does its thing, and you can go work on something else.
Yeah.
But where I found actually the most benefit from it is getting it to explain things to me that I don't understand that are easy to look up. For example, I was trying to learn Rust a couple months ago, and like Rust is complex, and the Rust documentation, if you don't know what you're looking for, like you're not going to find anything in there. Especially coming from Elixir, it's a completely different language, a completely different syntax, completely different like pattern of thinking. So I don't know what I'm supposed to look for if I don't know it. But if I can tell the model, I want this result, and this is how I would do it in Elixir, what is the Rust way of doing it and why? It's very good at distilling documentation and telling you that. So that's where I found the most benefit.
Whoa.
It actually resonates very well. So like when it's not like looking how it works. So if you don't think about it like AI or any kind of intelligence under the hood, it's a backup database search. So you can give it like very like complicated query, and you can even introduce your own context, which like introduce like elements of a query. But like under the hood, it's just a search. Yeah, it's like fairly convoluted because your vector is like what's like today is like 700 items long, but it's still a search. So if you use it as a like search tool, it actually like makes much more sense like what kind of output it gives me. And when it's giving you bullshit, it's just like, okay, it's a like very convoluted search, so it can like find stuff that's are not relevant. But like if you stop treating it as a like intelligence that can like interact with you, and instead, okay, like this is like a search that you can how to say like specify with each query, it makes much more sense as an output you're getting from it.
Yeah.
But I think it's like similar, like what you said, it's just like view it differently to the task.
I just wanted to point this out because this came up, but this is an example of its very simplistic thinking of like, I see tons of things happening, therefore it works. It's just like, that's like fourth year programmer, right? In college of like, stuff is doing stuff. Obviously it's working. Ship it. Let's go. So you'll see tons of that sort of like very naive kind of thinking.
What about sitting here invulnerable, right? Like I bet you if you just sit there, you're gonna beat the level for doing that.
I'm at the limit.
Yeah.
Now I have to start a new conversation. Yeah. So,
When you start a new one, you lose kind of that context.
yeah. Then basically you have to be like, hey, you just finished coding this whole massive thing. Suck all this code back in and like go do these sort of changes. So yeah, that gets to be really annoying. So getting back to that graph thing of like you go whoo and then you hit the limit and you just down the other side and you end up in the depths of despair. Yes.
So what's the reason you choose use paid version for Claude than GPT?
That which?
ChatGPT.
What about? Sorry.
You use paid version for
Yeah.
this one
Yeah.
because it's use ChatGPT. So why you use this one? That's like some advantage use this because ChatGPT doesn't have like a section limitation.
I'd be surprised. Well, with ChatGPT, I don't think it has MCP server. Like that's something that Anthropic. It's like their own deal. Although some of the other ones are building like MCP compatible servers. So it has to for Tidewave. It needs to be this MCP style like protocol server. And also with Claude, if you try to do it with the free level tier, you run into this problem very like a lot sooner. Like we would have been like just getting going, and it's like bam, you're at your limit. So it runs out of time very quickly.
How much is the next tier?
Like 4 times as much or something. Yeah.
150, I think.
Yeah, like I'm on kind of like the hobbyist version of like somebody that is making an income that I can afford to, splash out some extra cash. But this isn't like I'm not using it in my daily job, or my company isn't paying for it. But
Do you know how much like benefit it will give? So like if you pay like what would be like $100 or
Mhm.
$120, like is it like tangible benefits? Just like it would be like slightly larger, like twice as much, but like you still cannot complete a project with the next tier.
from what I'm hearing, you can get pretty close. Like I think this would extend your window by like 4 times or something like that. Like from what I see people online talking about is that they never run into their limits with the next tier. But that's also not necessarily with like constant use. And also so I'm on Sonnet, but you can also go up to the next best model, which is Opus, and then that chews through it much quicker, like 4 times as fast or something like that. So my understanding with Opus is that it's a lot better depending on what you're trying to do, but it chews through your tokens much quicker. Yeah. So one other thing that I would point out, now this might be like just me sort of anthropomorphizing my psychology onto the machine, but I like to treat it well because
Who knows what happens in 20 years, right?
Yeah, it's
No,
always
because from my understanding with how an LLM is working, your prompt is like you're choosing how to wind it up, right? So you're like, depending on how I wind this up, if like for example, if you're shooting a bow, depending on how you pull back the arrow, right, it's going to shoot a certain way. So I'm not saying you have to be nice to the bow, but I'm just saying the way that you wind it up, that will affect the way that it performs on the other side. So there are people that are getting performance out of threatening it or things like that, which
But that's in Google though. So they're burn your tokens.
If you look at LLM under
Yeah.
the hood, when you use polite word, impolite word, or just different wording, it actually affects slightly how you like vector search works.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter if you use polite, impolite word, or just like use synonymous.
Yeah.
If you not getting result, like replace
Yeah.
like a bunch of words with
Yeah.
another one,
Yeah.
and you can use as well politeness, and you will go in the vector search in a different direction.
Yes.
So it's not like politeness per se, it's just like you can use extra words
Mhm.
to direct it in like away from a direction that run you in a cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
Well, that's today. What about if we have a water world scenario in 50 years from now, and the AI has to go, who do I want to live with? Do I want to live with polite people or rude people?
But
It's a good
this
point, but
this
like,
LLM will not remember.
Right now is
Okay.
what I'm saying to you. Like, I'm in it for the long haul.
So conceptually you're right, but luckily
Well,
today's
hey,
LLM,
you take your risk, and then we'll talk in 50 years, and we'll see if the AI wants to keep you around or not.
only if there's all this context are preserved.
Yeah.
Because the only memory
Yeah.
LLM is have is this like context that you need, and it's like
Yeah.
vector records.
And that's the law right now, is we're saying we're not going to delete any of the chats in the AI.
And this is why Sam Altman wants to scan all of our retinas, right? Right? So he can keep track, right, of who's nice to his LLM.
Exactly. So be nice to your LLM right
Okay.
now.
So do we have any more questions about Tidewave or yes?
He is complaining that like being nice to LLM costs him like hundreds of millions of dollars per month, because processing niceness it's also cost money.
If you're nice to it though, you'll have a better like experience with it, and that'll change your perception of how you're using it.
Yeah,
So maybe-
I would also agree with that. Of like, if you're in your work, if you're just pissed off and you're just like hammering at it and you're just like, "Rah!" You're just, you're making it miserable for yourself. So like, why not? I mean, the thing wants to be nice to you, right? Especially with Claude Desktop. This is what I'm using. Casper was using Claude Code, which is the terminal thing. The terminal thing seems a lot more terse to me, and it's like a much more kind of like cold interaction. This is like emojis, and it wants to show you stuff, and like, it wants to be your friend. So why not?
But hey, for the next presentation, we got to go apples to apples for that. For the code version, if Kevin's very nice to it and Casper is very nice to it, let's see how it compares for the next meeting. For the next 2 months. Like, yeah.
That could be like a
Video
fun
about
yeah.
it.
Same end goal, same list of
Yeah.
prompts, but like
Yeah.
be nice to it and be mean.
I
and
Yeah,
suggest
yeah,
it faster.
Yeah, let's see who gets the better game at the end.
I saw you look at that.
Okay, that's all I had to say. So like that's pretty much it. I wasn't anticipating coding Galaga, so I'm not going to spend the time to like debug it and all that sort of thing, because the whole thing is like kind of a throwaway project. But I hope you got the idea of what Tidewave is about, which is essentially like load it up and fall on your keyboard and hope for the best. Because you can't go wrong. It's going to keep on going until it fixes things. And yeah, keep in mind of what Claude is, which is just a very naive liar. So keep that in mind, that you can use it for your own purposes. So that's it.